make a rough copy, it's not perfect. But I imagine with a rough copy, you can kind of jam it in there and bang it around. It's almost like, what's the phrase for a key when you...
Bump
a
key.
bump key. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a bump key. So it works, but it would mar up the inside of the teeth of it.
Like the tumblers would
Yeah.
get chewed up?
Yeah, a little bit. That's what I infer that's what that means.
I always, when I was reading this, was thinking about Charlie's Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever see that really crappy Charlie's Angels movie that had like Cameron Diaz?
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Julio in it?
Mm.
They like took a copy of a key by like pushing clay on both sides of it and then like injecting some like
Yeah.
metal bullion in there or whatever. That's how like in my mind that you would have gotten.
And that's the
a
easiest way to think about
That's
it.
one way to do it, yeah.
And so of course it would be a crappy version.
It'd be very, very
Yeah.
crappy. A one-time key.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a locksmith could have actually picked it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But you would think that a locksmith,
You would
if they
see
were picking
damage
it,
for
they
those
would
things.
leave some kind of mark. If you open up the guts of the safe, you would think you would see this marks where they were in there playing around trying to find the tumblers to push them in.
Also, if the safe was found locked, right, you would have to like not only would you have to get into it, but you would also have to like close it and lock it.
Yeah.
Usually.
And that's why if you pick the lock, you don't have the key to close it with again. You don't want to re-pick
Yeah.
the lock.
So it's just sitting open.
Yeah.
So it's sitting up.
Yeah, so there's some weirdness.
I know that, and I saw that too about how this guy pronounced it. No duplicate key had been used, and I thought,
I'm guessing he's talking about a cheap copy with a bump key kind of situation. Granted that we're probably looking at more of a skeleton key situation. Well, no, actually, this is the 1900s. It'd be a normal kind of key that we are used to today.
Fair representation, yeah.
Well, there's a guy named Detective Inspector John Kane who was of Scotland Yard. The Scotland Yard.
Which Scotland Yard?
The Scotland Yard.
Oh, okay.
He compiled a report, which evidently he named who he was sure the thief was. The commissioner of the Dublin Metro Police refused to accept his report for some reason, and his report subsequently disappeared. So gone. We don't know who he fingered for the job.
It's hard when, there weren't electronic copies of everything.
That's the problem.
Yeah, you'd have to be like the IRS to totally lose something that thoroughly.
Now, as you can imagine, there's some huge fallout from the theft of these jewels.
Oh, yeah.
Now, part of the problem right away is that it wasn't reported right away. In other words, they sat on the fact that these things were missing for at least a week, if not 2 or 3, before they finally admitted it. And when the king, Edward VII, figured it out, he was mad.
Yeah.
Super mad. He sacked everybody in the order that was there, that was an officer in that location. And
Wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. Now, we've got 4 other guys besides Arthur Vickers. We have a gentleman by the name of Francis Shackleton, Pierce Mahoney, Sidney Horlock, and Francis Bennett Goldney.
Okay.
These 5 guys are at the center of the conspiracy, for lack of a better phrase, of who could have done it. Now, there was a commission that was put out to investigate it, a commission of inquiry to look into it, but it seems like mostly they were geared at finding somebody to point a finger at. In other words, they were looking for a scapegoat or a patsy. They didn't look for who done it. They looked for kind of who was responsible for it happening.
It was a classic case of whodunit.
Yes. I love that you put your hand on your hip at the same time.
Yeah.
If I had like the little news girl cap, I'd be like, wow, it was a classic case.
With your little notepad in your
Yeah.
hand. Yes. But that's the end. Like the jewels disappeared. We never saw them again. They were never found. They were never recovered. We don't know what happened to them.
Until today.
Exactly. You took
As
the
Joe
words
would
out of my
say.
mouth. Yeah. Do you want to go through the theories, or you just want to solve this?
I want to go through the theories.
Oh, okay.
Well, we
fine.
could solve it.
Yeah.
I know where they are.
Where?
My jewelry case.
Oh,
Yeah.
the glass ones that you've got? Your costume jewelry?
No, they're real.
No.
All right, well,
I can actually tell you I have a family connection to this. My great uncle Patty stole them. Yeah.
Well, let me just get into the theories, you two.
But we know where
before
they are.
I know you've got I know you know who done it, but let's try to hold true to the way we do things.
I like the modern way he says whodunit.
Yeah.
Who done it?
Who done it?
Let's find out who done it. Not. Let's find out who done it.
He done it.
That's because I'm not good with accents and inflection. Just the reason I have not tried yet to do a terrible Irish accent.
Oh, Faith
Sure,
and
Gabora.
Gabora.
Thank the Lord.
Oh, I wish that had
Thank
been
the Lord that you
planned.
not defended us with your miserable accent. Man, that was my just.
That was
bad.
your
terrible.
German accent.
Yeah.
All right,
Have we not learned that he only has one accent?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Can we
Deutsche
please?
accent.
Yes,
can we please
I'm
get,
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
let's go.
Theory number 1. Well, he didn't do it, but Arthur Vickers was actually completely and totally inept.
Oh,
Yeah, it
obviously.
sounds like he had a bit of a drinking problem.
Yeah, okay, here's
Well, let's be honest. Any man who's like, nah, just throw that thing in the library.
it'll be
Yeah.
fine with Colonel Mustard. It's
Yeah,
fine.
actually, in fairness to Vickers, though, I mean, this is actually Dublin Castle was also like the home of the.
It's
the
under
police
lock and
force.
key.
I mean, there were cops all around and stuff like that. Yeah, you had reason to believe it was fairly secure. Where it
Oh
was.
yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. We talked about the commission that was set up to investigate this, and they focused on Vickers exclusively in this. I mean, they really did. They just focused on him.
I mean, I probably would have too.
I read some of the old accounts. I mean, you can actually find some of the stuff on the web, the old typewritten notes from the commission and stuff, and it's pretty obvious that they just were out to get him. But there was 2 ways that this commission could be held. One, they could meet publicly, which means that they could compel witnesses to come forward on record, and those witnesses had no choice. It's kind of like jury duty. You had to come, or not jury duty, but in a criminal case, you can't refuse to show up very easily.
Yeah, you get subpoenaed.
Yeah, you're subpoenaed. Or they could do it in private, at which point they lost that ability. For some reason, they decided to go with the private option. Well, Vickers, at this point, he's decided that they're looking to whitewash the story and they're just looking for a scapegoat. So he gets all peeved, and he had counsel with him, and he removed his counsel from the entire proceedings. What that meant, though, is that he didn't have any way to cross-examine anybody that they were talking to. So basically, I get up there, I tell my story, and they say, well, thank you, sir. Good day. But if he had been there and he had not bowed out or got mad and left, his attorney could have got up there and said, wait, that doesn't make sense. What are you saying here? And kind of put the grill to him.
And then Perry Mason, solved the mystery right there in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah, because somebody goes, fine, it was me, I did it.
Yeah, I don't understand why he got so mad at them being private. And maybe it's because then the records were sealed and it wasn't public record. It was now a private record.
I
don't know why.
It's not like he was refusing to cooperate with any inquiry. He just wanted a public inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so.
Well, and he had a pretty valid point that he was pretty sure they were whitewashing it because this commission started, once they started interviewing people, they were done in 15 days. Mm-hmm. Which doesn't sound like it's a very extensive inquiry.
I just don't know why you would. I still don't know why you would just pull your counsel, though. I mean, that just seems like a dumb move.
Well,
I mean,
he wasn't known for making great decisions because he didn't do such a bang-up job in his position.
Okay.
Here's the little history on Vickers.
Mm-hmm.
He was known for having a few drinks on the job. He would get drunk on site. Mm-hmm. He evidently once woke up after he got drunk, passed out, woke up wearing the jewels around his neck, so wearing a collar and something. We don't know if he got drunk and put them on himself and partied around and then passed out, or if somebody put them on him as a practical joke.
Well, now let me ask you this: when he woke up and he found the jewels on him, did he have writing, Sharpie writing all over his face?
They didn't have Sharpies.
Okay. Well,
maybe lipstick or quill pen.
Quill pen. Yeah, but they didn't mark up his face.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't put obscene drawings on his face. They didn't do that.
That's kind of interesting, though. It's like, I mean, if I had passed out in my office and woke up with crown jewels on me, I don't think I'd tell anybody.
I don't know how we know about this. This is the thing. I'm guessing that it was in some kind of written account somewhere that somebody else had written, oh yeah, Arthur told me this happened.
Maybe.
That's the only way I can figure out that it got into the record.
Yeah, he must have confided to somebody. Yeah,
I guess I was going to assume that, I mean, I guess I can count the number of times that I've, like passed out drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, kind of seriously on one hand. But in every single case, it's not like I just like wake up naturally the next day and I'm like, oh crap, this was a horrible decision. It's usually like somebody coming in and being like, hey dude, hey, you forgot that you're going to class.
The cleaning lady found him.
Yeah.
That's who must
That's
have done it.
She's always the center of these things.
No, but I think it's not unreasonable to assume that like one of his colleagues could have come in and been like, hey dude, wake up. What are you doing with all those jewels around your neck? And that's how it got in there.
Yeah. Here's another bit that proved that he didn't do such a bang-up job. There was a gentleman by the name of Lord Haddo, I believe Haddo, Haddo or Hado, I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Okay.
But he was the son of Viceroy Lord Aberdeen.
I'm sorry, this is just Star Wars.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like Lord Haddo,
Lando Calrissian.
son of the Viceroy.
Lord Haddo, whichever it is, he visited the castle on a pretty regular basis and allegedly once stole the crown jewels as a practical joke and then put them in the mail the next day and mailed them back to Vickers. Hey dude, you were drunk, you left this open, so I sent them back.
You would think that would have been a wake-up call for old Vickers, huh?
Yeah, you would kind of think.
But here's the deal. He mailed the jewels back maybe, or he might have mailed back copies.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wax copies that melted in the summer heat. No. In May 1907, this is another incident. Vickers left the key to the safe attached to a key ring of his own that was for his offices. And he reported it, and a maid found him, and she sent him to the chief herald's office via another servant. So he's losing these. This obviously proves that the safes weren't always locked, and they weren't exactly hard to get into. Like, this guy was just leaving stuff open all the time.
Yeah, well, that's a different time. But I'd say that cleaning lady had just multiple temptations placed in front of her, didn't she?
She kind of did.
Yeah.
She kind of did. Now, and you remember how, speaking of the cleaning lady, you remember how we had talked about the doors were left open multiple times?
Yeah.
Well, it's theorized that it's possible that Vickers was actually leaving the doors open on purpose in this couple of days preceding the discovery of the loss of the jewels. And that he had realized that either A, a prankster had stolen them, and he was waiting for them to return them, so he's leaving things open for them to just put them back, or he had realized they had been stolen, he didn't want to admit that they had been stolen, and he wanted them to be theft to be discovered by somebody other than him, or even another theory on that is that he realized that they were gone and he got some kind of ransom note and he couldn't raise the money out of his own funds, so he's trying to raise awareness of it so that then he could get some money to pay off the blackmailer to have him returned.
And raising awareness by what? Leaving the doors open?
Leaving the doors open to have it discovered, so somebody will be like, oh my god, they're gone. Oh yeah, hey, by the way, I got this letter saying we need to pay X amount of pounds before they'll give them back. Because at this time, well, even today, Ireland uses the pound, though it's not the pound sterling that the UK uses anymore. They've separated. But this is a weird little fact. So, do you know what they call the pound in Ireland?
A lub?
The punt.
The punt?
The punt.
The punt?
It's just such a random name. I think it's really funny.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how they
gosh.
do things in the UK.
Okay, well let's keep going.
All right.
Theory number 2. The jewels were stolen, and they actually accidentally let the thief in
Yeah, they did.
at a stag party.
Yeah, they did.
All right. Remember I talked about there were several gentlemen who were working in the office at the time? One of those guys, his name is Francis Shackleton. Well, Shackleton was openly homosexual.
Well, how openly could you be homosexual back in those days?
Evidently,
As a dude,
he was
pretty
very
openly.
open. He was very open about
Yeah.
the fact that he was homosexual. And it's alleged that he actually had quite a few stag parties at the office with men who were of the same persuasion.
I'm sorry, I'm pushing so hard against making jewel stealing jokes.
I'm going to keep going so you can keep quelling that.
Thank you.
Well, it's reported that not only was Shackleton at some of these was at all of these parties, but every other member of the staff attended the parties at some point. So they were all getting drunk at the office.
Getting drunk and getting
having
something else.
shenanigans.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, who knows? But the problem is Shackleton also had some high up friends. High up as in the royal family.
Yeah.
Because one of the people who was at some of these parties was the king's brother-in-law, John Campbell, the 9th Duke of Argyll.
Yeah.
So these theories, the theories that they let the thief in is either A, that because the jewels weren't locked up, somebody came to a party, realized the jewels weren't locked up, and checked the joint out to figure out how they could, next time they showed up and things weren't locked up, they stole them and disappeared into the night. Or, and this is going to lead into the next theory as well, but it's also theorized that Shackleton might have stolen the jewels himself, and when he was approached about the theft, basically said, hey, John Campbell and I, we're good friends, wink, wink, and if you start talking about the fact that I stole these jewels, I'm going to start talking about the things that he does, basically causing a scandal and exposing his lifestyle. Which was a big issue at that time. It wasn't proper for a member of the royal family to be gay.
I suspect it still is.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
you're
I don't know
absolutely
that
right.
for sure,
Probably still is. You never hear anything like that. It's always hushed up.
Although, if he had blackmailed him, wouldn't you think they just would have murdered him?
Well, there's some reasons that they might not have murdered him quite so easily, and that actually goes into our next theory, which is a good segue, Joe.
Yeah.
Francis Shackleton was a friend of Arthur Vickers, and he actually lived with the guy for 2+ years. I think it was like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I'm so
What do you think
sorry.
they were doing?
Well, he also was really bad with money. The guy had racked up some serious debts. He had borrowed money from every one of his coworkers. Somewhere, I think the smallest loan he got from a friend was £400 to the order of £1,500, which
a lot of money
This
in
is
those days.
1900, so that is, I would say that's taking into inflation, Joe. What do you think? Do the math. What do you think? Like 50,000?
Probably. Something
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that. It's a lot of
I'm
money.
like $10,000 to $50,000 into the hole with multiple people.
The pounds, right? Which is like,
Yeah, well, I'm just using the pound. Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
he's seriously in debt.
yeah.
Here's another thing that doesn't go in his favor, is that at a luncheon on July 4, 1907, Shackleton said it would not be in the least bit surprising to learn that one day the jewels would be stolen. He said that 2 days before the theft was discovered. Here's the problem, though. Okay, instantly we're like, oh yeah, Shackleton did it. He's the guy.
No.
He's saying all these clues.
I think that would tend to actually point the other direction.
I agree, but
Yeah.
sure.
Because he said it would be really easy for them to be stolen, and they disappeared 2 days later.
No, they'd been gone. I mean, I think it's fairly.
Well, the
certain,
loss was discovered 2 days later. I think this is running in that people gloating about a theft. Oh gosh, that bank would be so easy to knock over, and then 2 days later the bank gets knocked over. I think it's just kind of that he's saying how easy it would be because he's kind of bragging. But here's the problem. He wasn't in the country during the weeks prior since that before the jewels disappeared. Shackleton wasn't in the country; he was in England, so it couldn't have been Shackleton himself that did the theft.
Unless he caught a quick ferry ride over to Dublin, and
That's
now-
It's
possible.
not that
And-
far.
yeah.
That's not that far, and it is possible. But it is also possible that he had an accomplice.
Oh.
There's a guy by the name of Captain Richard Gorges who he served in the army with, and they were really good friends. They had been friends for years, and it's thought that maybe he had Gorges go do the theft while he was out of the country so that the blame couldn't easily fall on him.
Do you think that the jewels would have gone for enough to cover all his debts, though?
I don't know.
Well, if you think about, and if you think about it, these are encrusted with diamonds and rubies and emeralds. And if you break those up and you make them into smaller bits of jewelry, that's a lot of friggin'
That's fair.
money.
I guess
That would be a
I
fair
thought
amount of
that
money,
we had
though.
read, and this may be jumping ahead,